He says the Elijah you are seeking was in fact John the Baptist, and he is dead. You have killed him. But John primarily calls our attention to his link to Elijah. This is the main point I think that Matthew is really driving home. And not just Matthew, but Jesus as well, right? We see this in Matthew chapter 11, where Jesus says, right, he's exegeting Malachi chapters 3 and 4, right, which describe this vengeful coming, this almost apocalyptic coming of Elijah. Jesus exegetes this this seemingly assumed passage that has to do with the eschaton, and he connects it with the ministry of John the Baptist. He says the Elijah you are seeking was in fact John the Baptist, and he is dead. You have killed him. That's his point in Matthew. So in general, we see this constant linking between John the Baptist and Elijah, not just in his ministry or as far as geography, right? As far as Elijah and John presumably would have taken up their ministry, or Elijah at least was literally taken up into heaven, presumably around the Jordan River, right? It should be no surprise to us that John the Baptist, this is where the majority of his ministry and baptisms are occurring. But not just that, we also see his garb, right? This is a reference to 2 Kings, right? Which describes Elijah as a kind of hairy man, right? He's a hairy man. Here we see John putting on a sack of camel hair, right? These connections are not random, right? They're intentional. We also see John eating locusts and wild honey, right? So locusts is what? Locusts are, according to the Levitical laws, locusts are the only insect which are pure enough for the people of Israel to eat, right? So on the one hand, while his food is typical as far as any ascetic wilderness residing person, right? And this is still the staple diet of some communities within the Middle East and North Africa today, he still finds a way, despite his living in a rather uninhabited area of the ancient Near East, he still finds a way to obey, right, the original Mosaic law, which he is literally the culmination of, right? This gospel describes him as the culmination of all and the greatest of all Old Testament prophets, right?